Good morning and welcome back to Dr. Logic Awkwardly Does Logic. I said in the previous video that there's going to be a particular type of proof structure that we'll see a lot of, which involves contraposition, substitution, double negation, and possibly some instances of De Morgan's. I'm going to derive a new rule for you, and I'm going to use that proof strategy to show how it works. Once you see more and more examples, it will become more and more clear and when to use it, how to use it, and why it is so useful. So while I'm bringing up the whiteboard, just remember the derived rules that we already have. We've got derived rule 1, which says, if you can prove some conditional phi implies psi, then you can stick a box on the front of both the antecedent and the consequent. And then we had derived rule 2, which is the same, except if you have a biconditional. The next set of rules that we're going to give, derived rules 3 and 4, I'm only going to prove the first one because you should be able to extrapolate from my proof and the proof of DR2 to the proof of DR4. And what it does is it says if you have a conditional or a biconditional, you can stick diamonds on both of them. So derived rule 3 says if you can prove phi implies psi, then you are allowed to stick diamonds on the antecedent and the consequent. And derived rule 4, if you can prove the biconditional between phi and psi, then you can stick diamonds on both sides. So because this is a rule, we start off, and the idea is, again, this is a shortcut that we can take, something that we can prove without the rule, but this just allows us to shorten our proofs and go straight from the conditional or biconditional to the augmented form. So we're going to assume that we've already got a proof up to some line. I'm just going to call it 1 because it's easier to refer to it, where we have already proven our conditional. Now, what did I say our system is going to involve? It's going to involve substitution, contraposition, possibly some more contraposition, maybe some double negation or De Morgan's. Let's start off with the contraposition. So we know that we've got that not psi implies not phi, just doing propositional reasoning on line 1. But now we can apply derived rule 2 to this because it is, derived rule 1 to line 2. That's why I got confused. Because it's a conditional. And so we stick a box on the antecedent and a box on the consequent. Now, if we do contraposition again, we get that it's not necessarily not phi implies not necessarily not psi. So again, propositional reasoning, contraposition on line 3. And then we can just do our substitution of equivalences. We know that not box not is the same as diamond. So we have possibly phi implies possibly psi, substitution of equivalences on line 4. And so this is how we get from a conditional phi implies psi to the same conditional with a diamond on the antecedent and the consequent. As I said, I will leave the proof of derived rule 4 for you as an exercise, but now that you've seen how this works, it should be very easy to get the biconditional form of the rule. We will see more of these sorts of proofs in the coming theorems. So hang tight, join me later, and until then, enjoy deriving derived rule 4. Take care. Cheers.